Recently, there was a controversy brewing online with a popular podcast host who's been very open about his polyamorous lifestyle. Polyamory, for those of you who don't know, is the practice of having multiple romantic or sexual relationships. And so this podcaster is also a part of the wellness and spiritual community. And in a recent episode of his podcast, he told a story about how he was called by Spirit to go onto a dating app because there was apparently somebody on that dating app that Spirit wanted him to match with and then to impregnate along with his wife. Naturally, a lot of people in the spiritual space got upset. They said that because this guy has such a massive platform, he shouldn't be suggesting that Spirit or the universe or any kind of higher intelligence is telling him to go on a dating app and to impregnate someone. And they're suggesting that it's manipulative, and they're saying stuff like, you can sleep with whoever you want to sleep with, but you've also got a massive reach. And so with that reach comes responsibility, and on and on and on. I thought this would be a great opportunity to illustrate what the spiritual perspective looks like in action using a real world situation where a lot of people are triggered and somebody else is just trying to do the thing that they feel like they are being called to do. And when you understand how the spiritual perspective can be applied to these kinds of situations, it helps you do the same thing in your own life. Because let's be honest, there's no shortage of people doing questionable things on planet Earth in the name of Spirit, God, Jesus, Buddha, the universe, right? Whatever name they're using. And if you're someone who finds yourself getting triggered by what these folks are saying or what they're doing, then this is going to provide you with a more useful way of looking at life, and hopefully a way that helps you stay focused on what's truly important, which from a spiritual perspective is your purpose, what you're here to do. And by the way, when I say the spiritual perspective, I'm not talking about my personal opinion. I have my own opinion about it, but I don't confuse that with the spiritual perspective. I'm talking more about a principle. And this principle only qualifies as spiritual if it applies across the board, not just to situations that I personally agree with. Okay, so here's the principle. We can only see and understand what our current level of consciousness allows us to see and understand. Okay, what do I mean by that? If someone hasn't been doing their inner work, if they haven't been intentionally and actively working on the expansion of awareness, then they are only going to be able to hold a limited number of perspectives in their awareness at the same time, especially if those perspectives appear to contradict each other. So let's go back to our polyamorous podcaster for a second. So here are 5 truths that you might hear related to his story. Truth number 1, he has a podcast. Truth number 2, he's polyamorous. Truth number 3, he believes that the universe told him to go on a dating app and to impregnate someone other than his wife. Truth number 4, he went on a dating app, he started swiping and matched with someone, and now they're a throuple. Truth number 5, everyone involved in the throuple is okay with it. In other words, no one's being manipulated. Now, if your awareness is more on the narrow end of things, you might be able to hold 2 or maybe 3 of those truths at once, but it's going to be really difficult to hold all 5 of those truths. So maybe you're fine with him having a podcast, maybe you're fine with him being polyamorous, but the idea of the universe instructing him to go on the dating app and start swiping until he finds someone to impregnate, that's where the limits of your awareness start to crumble. And the story becomes, okay, fine, he's polyamorous, but don't say God told you to do it. Or, sure, you can talk about spirit, but don't turn that into an excuse to follow your ego or follow your more primal desires. Or, yeah, you can have a podcast, but don't talk about this thing publicly on your podcast. From the spiritual perspective, the real story is not about him and what he's doing in his bedroom and who he's doing it with. It's really about how many truths are we able to hold at one time without getting triggered. Because from that more narrow bandwidth of awareness, it's almost impossible for all of those things to be true at the same time. And when something doesn't fit inside of our version of the truth, then the only natural outcome is we get triggered. And that's where that internal tension comes from. Now, what happens when you do your inner work consistently? Your awareness starts to expand. And one of the signs that your awareness is, in fact, expanding is you start to notice that you're having fewer and fewer reactions to other people's nonsense. You don't feel a need to jump into the comment section. You stop needing to talk about it and vent about it all day. Yeah, you may see it, you may hear about it, you may read an article about something, and you register it as interesting, but you move on. Why? Because it doesn't have anything to do with you and your purpose. Everyone's an adult in this situation, so people are making choices to be there. Now, I'm not suggesting that you have to agree with these things. I'm also not saying that you should suppress your opinions about them. I'm saying you don't need to spend your precious time and energy negating it either. So somebody might ask, well, what am I supposed to do? Like, just let people do whatever they want? I mean, pretty much. That's already what's happening. There are 8 billion people on this planet trying to live the best way they know how based on their life experience, based on their understanding of the world, of the universe, of religion, of spirituality, just like you and just like me. If you're not busy paying attention to them, you're going to be able to free up more bandwidth to pay attention to what you got going on and to your family and to your health and to your purpose. And by the way, I don't mean this in a selfish context, because if you're really on your purpose, on some level, you're involved in service, right? You're making the world better in some way. You might be teaching kids, you might be writing, you might be tending to a garden, you might be a street sweeper, or you might be raising a family. Whatever it is, your attention is going towards something that matters to you and your heart. But if you're caught up in what somebody else is doing on the internet and using all of your time giving your opinions about their activities, then you're no longer as focused on the thing that, from a spiritual perspective, you're here to do. And I'd argue that you're not here to manage other people's choices. That's not your highest purpose. If you skip your workout because you're stressed out about something you read online, now you're hemorrhaging your own energy. And the same goes if you're trying to write something meaningful or show up for something you love, but your mind is all twisted up over what you heard on some podcast controversy. It's not serving anybody. Now, let me be clear. I'm not talking about turning a blind eye to people who are actually harming other people. I'm not talking about staying neutral on things like war and injustice and things that impact people in serious ways. But even in those cases, the question is still relevant. Can we hold space for multiple truths to exist at the same time? Because one truth is, yeah, people are getting harmed, and that's not really what anybody with a conscience wants. Another truth is, you still have your purpose. And maybe your purpose is to create art, or maybe it's to serve meals, or maybe it's to care for your child. But if your awareness is too limited, then you end up obsessing over the one thing that's happening that you consider to be negative in the world, and then you neglect the other things. And all that does is it leads to burnout, right? It leads to overwhelm. It leads to paralysis, analysis, or inaction. And you may be thinking, well, isn't that spiritual bypassing if I don't pay attention to this horrible thing happening on the other side of the world? Not necessarily. It's not bypassing. It's staying rooted in your purpose. Hey, if you've been knocking your head against the wall when it comes to daily meditation, falling off the wagon, getting back on, not quite sure if what you're doing is working, don't worry, I got you. For a limited time, I'm giving away my signature 7-day meditation kickstart for free to you, my Spiritual Perspective listeners. Plus, you'll get a free 2-week all-access pass to my entire Happiness Insiders online curriculum of challenges and masterclasses, which will provide you with a crystal clear roadmap for mastering your inner work. You'll also get support directly from me and accountability and a place to ask questions, and you can join me live for a meditation on each of your 2 free weeks. So with zero cost to you, you can get a daily meditation practice that you'll actually enjoy and look forward to doing for the rest of your life,
and you'll have me to personally support you and hold you accountable. And after your 7-day meditation kickstart ends, you can start the 108-day meditation challenge and get even more support. And you can take as many other inner work challenges and masterclasses as you can fit into those 2 weeks. We have an unheard of 80% completion rate for our challenges, which is over 20 times higher than your average online course. So if you've been feeling stuck and inconsistent when it comes to your inner work practices, you will not find a better solution anywhere online. Go to thehappinessinsiders.com and let's get your meditation practice up and running today. That's thehappinessinsiders.com, and you can tell that nagging daily stress to kiss your ass. I'll put a link below in the description.
Here's a metaphor that I like to use, and you've probably heard me use it on these videos before. Let's say one of your pipes in your house breaks and it's leaking water, and you call the plumber. But the plumber says, "Oh, I'm too overwhelmed by what's happening in the world right now, so I can't come out and fix it today. Maybe next week." Would you applaud that response? Or would you just be irritated and call somebody else who can come out and fix the leaking pipe? Of course, you'd call someone who can focus on their purpose, their job. Because here's the thing. Let's say you are someone who's actively doing something about some conflict around the world, but you need your pipes to be working. We're all kind of like the plumber. Whatever your purpose is, whether it's tending the garden, raising the family, preparing the food, working at Kinko's, whatever the thing is, you are making it possible for someone else to do their purpose. So you are a part of the supply chain of service and support and possibly even inspiration. That's how it works. So when people say, "But I don't see how what I'm doing matters," I respond, that is another sign that we want to expand our awareness even more. That's a truth that you're not able to hold in your awareness yet, but that's why we have inner work. This is just something to be aware of. The whole point of doing inner work helps you to expand your awareness, and as a result, you start asking better questions, more empowering questions. You're able to let go of the need to be right all the time. You find yourself being more present to whatever it is that's in front of you and being more focused on those activities. And as your awareness continues to expand, you start to see the connections between what you're doing and how it can possibly help other people do the things that they're meant to do. And so this whole awareness starts to build upon itself, right? So what these viral moments do, the things that we consider to be controversial, is they act as mirrors to show us exactly where we are in our own process. Are we the ones getting distracted and angry and reactive? Or are we the ones who are seeing what's happening, acknowledging what's happening, and staying grounded? And maybe even using that moment to share something helpful or constructive that is in alignment with our purpose. That's the difference, right? And that's why on some level, we can actually be grateful for situations like this because they show us where we are and what we're capable of in a more negative sense, but also what we're more capable of in an inspiring way. What do you think? Does this resonate? Let me know in the comments. And if you know someone who could use a message like this, please feel free to pass it along to them, and make sure you go through the archive and the playlist and check out some past episodes of The Spiritual Perspective. And in the meantime, I will see you next week. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you resonated with this spiritual perspective and you want more, start by checking out this one. And otherwise, we've got an entire playlist of similar spiritual perspective videos. So make sure you're subscribed, and please leave a comment letting me know which other topics you'd like for me to cover on this channel.